Timesheets and more. How Sturgeon Electric reduced administrative tasks by 50% with Quickbase. With Jesse Guardado, Operations Manager of Sturgeon Electric, and myself, James Travaglini, Customer Solutions Consultant with Quickbase. Keep in mind the session is being recorded and there will be chat and Q&A throughout. Just again, remember we're here, so if you have any questions along, feel free to drop those in the chat. There'll be my colleagues, myself in there moderating to answer any questions throughout the session here. And if you just want to stop in and say hi, if you've worked with me in the past, go ahead and do so. And there will also be live Q&A at the end. All right, and just remember to review this session. There will be a link posted in the chat as well. Thank you. Cool.
I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jesse Guardado. I'm an operations manager with Sturgeon Electric, California. I'm located in Hesperia in SoCal. I have a certification in project management, and I'm a certified Quickbase builder. I'd let you know my history on Quickbase. Initially, I was self-taught, but I've enjoyed learning through the university here recently since that came about. I have a passion for growing the people I lead, making processes more efficient, and getting better every day to push the competition in the competitive market. This is actually my third Empower, really excited about it. First two were great, and really looking forward to all the great content this year. A little bit about myself personally. I'm happily married to my amazing wife, and just recently we celebrated 3 years together. Wonderful anniversary. I was born and raised in Southern California, and like most Californians, I enjoy staying active and traveling. I'm excited to show you how a piece of our business runs on Quickbase.
Thanks, Jesse. And James Travaglini here, Solutions Consultant with Quickbase. Been with Quickbase for nearly 5 years. Started my Quickbase journey as a frontline care representative, eventually moved into our enterprise support, and about 2 years ago became a solutions consultant. So through my experience with Quickbase, I've seen all types of use cases from small mom and pop shops all the way into our most massive enterprise applications. And probably somewhere along the line, I've worked with somebody in the audience here as well. Outside of Quickbase, I'm an avid Boston sports fan, Marvel movie buff, and dog lover. All right, so our agenda. We'll meet Sturgeon Electric. We'll understand what Sturgeon Electric chose Quickbase for, some problems that they'll be solving. Jesse will go into an application demo. Then I'll be taking over with a technical deep dive and how we can utilize timesheets, as well as some custom formulas for calendar headers. And then we'll wrap it up, and then we'll end with some Q&A.
So I'd like to tell you a little bit about Sturgeon Electric California. As you see on the screen, we're actually a subsidiary of MYR Group, Inc. And since 1891, MYR Group has built transmission, distribution, and substation power systems that really supply the nation. This legacy, coupled with a broad national presence, a skilled workforce, financial stability, an experienced management team, and equipment resources, have allowed us as MYR Group to give our customers the services they need. MYR Group actually consistently is in the top 5 specialty contractors in the US per Engineering News record. With over 7,100 employees, we work out throughout the United States and Canada. When it comes to our mission, it's to provide superior specialty contracting services by creating a mutually rewarding environment where it's safe, inspiring, and open. And we work hard to stick to our core values. We allow those to guide us and inspire us as we shape our behavior and culture in our industry. Those core values are respect, safety, responsiveness, creativity, integrity, initiative, and teamwork. So currently I'm working as an operations manager, as I mentioned before, for the transmission and distribution sector of construction in Southern California. Our current customers are Southern California Edison and San Diego Gas and Electric. We actually had a re-entry into the market in 2016 as Sturgeon Electric. Then at the time, I was the 4th employee here in the area, and now we've grown over 200 employees, and we're constantly growing year after year. We've sustained and been awarded multi-year profitable $150 million contracts, and we kept that all together with Quickbase. It was really right from the start. We started using Quickbase in 2016 when I wanted to dive into it. You know, some of our competitors were using it in different segments of their business, but I really saw it as a way that we could use it to really go throughout our whole business. Uh, so I compared Quickbase in some of the other programs and softwares and other solutions, but Quickbase was light years ahead in some of the things you see there on the screen: security, accessibility, simplicity, cost, and customization. It was exactly what we needed for our business at the time and continues to be the solution. There were other contractors, they were using spreadsheets, they were using financial software, they were trying to use access databases, but all of this did not meet the needs. We needed something better. And that's what Quickbase was. Quickbase is real time, it's completely shareable, a great communication tool. On top of that, we were able to use operations to customize it. That was critical for us because as leaders in the industry, in the field, we know exactly what our customers need. So bridging the gap between our knowledge and the systems we use was really what we needed. And Quickbase was that solution. So I explored Quickbase for a little under a month, but it didn't take me long to realize this was the tool to build our business around. Right from the start, we started conquering common construction problems that we see in our industry today. First one, we'll talk through some of these, was on reporting. We know our customers, we have those ones out there who love the visually appealing wow factors, the colors, the charts, the graphs, and really with Quickbase, it made it simple. But then two, we also need accurate data. So we built the database structure to be able to give us that good reporting, and also built the tables so we could grow our business and expand. Our VP, he was able to grab his cell phone, walk into the executive office of our customer and show them right there, real time, what the crew was working on in the field that met their customer initiatives. We showed where we were, but we were also showing the customer where we were going to be. Along with this reporting were dashboards that fit the flavor of the month. We all know that, right? Some of our customers constantly changing their expectations, their goals. So we were able to also change with our customer. Being customer focused, show them that we had the same goals they had to foster those partnerships that feed our business. Then when it comes to reporting, we also need to know how the customer views us, our customer metrics. And so we were able to build that also with Quickbase. How about scheduling? Well, we know as contractors, we need a solid schedule. Why? Well, it builds into our revenue, inspires confidence with our employees, but also it's really critical to giving a good product to our customer. We know how it is these days. You get a notification on your phone when your pizza's at your door, when it's headed to you, and when it leaves their shop. So we wanted the same thing with Quickbase. So Quickbase is our scheduling software. It's real time. We didn't need to use sticky notes anymore, handwritten calendars, because all those things sometimes would cause us to miss due dates. Our team knew exactly what they needed to do and could communicate instantly to get those tasks and get the job done. How about project data? Well, project tracking and document retention is really critical in the project management world. One tap with Quickbase, and it's all right there in the same spot. Document statuses of various different projects that we were working at any given time. Plus, we had the platform to get the field crews exactly what they needed when they needed it. For example, we just got a permit into our office. Well, then the very next day, or the same day really, we were able to get it right into the hands of the crew. But then the next day, we could go back and look at that document without having to search through emails or files or go grab that project folder. It was all in one spot. How about safety? Well, safety is fundamental to our business. So we wanted it to be the same way with our app. So what did we do? Well, we took a look at job briefings, or what you would call tailboards, what you would call morning huddles, and we built those right into the app. We wanted those to be useful, not just a piece of paper that was filled out and thrown away. So we took this data and we were able to predict future challenges that the crews might face. Then we also built our incident history into our app. This would allow us to take action once we identify the root cause and then use that data in a way that we could shape our future safety initiatives. How about invoicing process management, cash flow? It's so critical to us as contractors, right? So it's important when we look at our processes, where is the bottleneck? Where is it getting delayed? And we were able to pinpoint those when we built this process into Quickbase. So we could track that timeline from the time we completed to the work to the time as cash was in hand, and we could focus in on the deficiencies in our process. Understanding our work as it relates to invoicing and cash flow is also important. So with the relationships in Quickbase, we were able to find the top performers and give attention to those trouble projects so we can mitigate our financial exposure. Lastly, talking about resources, right? We have a lot of equipment, we have a lot of people, and we need to track training, we need to track tools, maintenance, we have all these things we have to keep track of. But with Quickbase, we could maintain compliance on these matters. We could be organized with those floating resources. We didn't have to go through folders and folders of forms or different check sheets. It was all easily managed data right there at our fingertips, easy to use, accessible by everyone. A key component of really tackling these issues was getting involved with our QSP, MCF Technologies. Shout out to them. They helped us so much. We had some more tricky use cases that we worked through, and they were critical to help us through those use cases. But then we had some other custom code things that we did with them. Really a great help. Hats off to them. When we talk about the ROI with Quickbase, it really truly is staggering. You have it right there on your screen. We saved more than $70,000 a year in analyst resources alone with Quickbase, and pretty confident on that number. Then there's the untold amounts of, on the management side, having to track or having those answers at our fingertips. That's really innumerable. The gains when it comes to new business, showing them the flashy toy that we can definitely keep track of all their work in one place. And it also sets us apart in our current markets that we're in as a contractor who can get it done. With each passing year, more and more growth is done with Quickbase nationwide. We're honing in on different ways to develop customer-specific apps and rolling out the process on how to use Quickbase in a new region. So right now, we're active in California with Quickbase. Then we also, earlier last year, moved into Colorado. They're actively using Quickbase and there are certain customers there. Right now in Arizona, we're in progress and we're working on developing their app and rolling that out. Further, we have plans to expand east later this year. Our California app, just to give you some statistics, we use a single app. We don't have multiple apps as much. We have a single app with 51 tables, but we do have a few others for some specialized uses. So in review, there are many facets. Oh, there we go. We had some many facets of how Quickbase impacts our business, but just to review those: reporting, scheduling, project tracking and document retention, safety improvement, invoicing process management, resource management, but it doesn't stop there. There is much more that we use Quickbase for. It truly is the solution, all-in-one solution for the construction industry. With that said, we're going to dive right into our main app and give you a little tour of three things: our scheduling, our project tracking, and our timesheets. So I'm going to switch screens here. Bear with me one moment. Okay, so here's our main app here, our SECA tracking tool. As we talk about some of our different options here, we kind of go straight into scheduling. And we can see our main app, our scheduling piece here. We see our calendar. We have some custom headers that James is going to describe a little later on how to develop those. We're also going to go into some of the ways to make it the more data available right there on the screen. But this is what our crews see. They see their own custom schedule, their own view that they have. But it's really nice because all of our foremen do have iPads and they're able to hone in on what their task is for the day, but also see their schedule being built as the schedule gets built for on our side. They can see that right away. When we kind of talk around project tracking, we know we mentioned the reporting earlier. Here's an example of one of the dashboards that we have available here from one of the prior projects that we did for the customer. Bright colors, charts and graphs. We all know that customer who absolutely loves these. So that real data comes from somewhere. It comes from somewhere that we know it's accurate. And so we're going to dive right into the project here. Give you some of our key points on our project. It shows you the location. It shows you the scope, the different items, key data points that are specific to the customer, which they really like seeing. We also have the documents here that we can hone in and have multiple documents. They can open them right there in their mobile device and have those readily accessible. We keep track of our permitting processes. We know that in construction, permitting is a big deal and we need to make sure we stay compliant. So recognizing where we are with that permit really is important for us. Just the general project status reporting, estimated complete, percent complete, all those things are also right here on this page. We know the detailed notes tracked is also important for status reporting. So we have some notes here that date and timestamp our specific note and who wrote it. It becomes very helpful when tracking the projects of the job statuses and where they're going to be. Talking about the safety component, we also have the job briefings, tailboards, morning huddles, whatever you call it in your construction industry. It's right there in the app. We're able to see it in the context of the project. Going into the timesheet component of it all, we're able to look right here. It has a start and finish times, things very similar to any timesheet program that you're going to see out there. Hours worked, but also getting some feedback from the crews, from the foreman is also a nice component of this. They're able to communicate some of the things that they might have noticed out on the job. Approval processes, we track that in here as well. From the immediate supervisor to the second level supervisor, we're able to make sure that that's approved before we put it into payroll. So after they enter in the times in the header information here, all they have to come in and do is add who is supposed to be on that timesheet, and they can put that information in there. We also track our equipment usage. So they can come in and they add all their different equipment that they used on that job. One of the things that we noticed with the timesheets is there was a specific use case we thought might be beneficial to you today. We know our users, they're those big button types. We want to keep it simple. We want to keep them focused on their jobs. We want their experience within the app to be as least frustrating as we can for them. But then we also have the stakeholders, right? Maybe a customer that needs the data a specific way. Then we have to stay true to our database structure ourselves because we have our own internal reporting, our internal processes that we need to fill out. So we need a way to transform the data to get all of those things accomplished. And this is what we ran into with our timesheets. We wanted our foreman to be able to fill out the timesheet. We wanted the database to still give us the data in the way that we needed it for payroll, but then we needed the data for our customer a completely different way. So we were able to solve that in our app by using automations. And so we took all the data that the foreman entered up top, and when we went to invoicing, we were able to format it in a way that was usable in the customer system. So that's how we did it in our app, but I'm going to turn it over to James now to give you a deep dive on how to do that in a different app with some of the new features that Quickbase has brought out. James?
Thank you, Jesse. If you want, you can go ahead and stop sharing. I'll take over. Right. Perfect. All right, here for part one of our technical deep dive, we will be diving into how you can utilize timesheets within your Quickbase applications and all the added benefits that come with it. So why use timesheets in Quickbase? Timesheet systems are often siloed from systems like Quickbase, where your employees are actually submitting their work. Hosting a timesheet directly within Quickbase can add many benefits. For example, you can determine actuals versus expected hours or cost for a particular project. It also allows you the ability to report on trends that many timesheet systems would not be capable of. In the case of Sturgeon Electric, they had a timesheet system they used for payroll, but instead of having their employees enter into that system, they're able to enter them in Quickbase, use those automation to get it in the correct format, and then import that into their payroll system. So a few features we'll cover today. Date formulas, so the ability to determine each day in a given week based on a particular start period. Table validation rules to ensure that our data is has some integrity there, making sure that all those dates line up properly. The ability to calculate your wages based on an hourly rate of your employees, which would then give you the ability to summarize up to maybe your projects and produce some more interesting reports like those actuals versus expecteds. And finally, we'll cover how you can utilize pipelines to transform your timesheets similarly to how Jesse has done it with Sturgeon. And here are just a quick couple screenshots of a few areas that we'll jump into today. This one back here is our table validation rule. So on my timesheet down here, you can see I have a start week, and then I have dates for every day of the week here. So what this is saying is if this start week isn't a Sunday, you're going to get an error. So it's just to make sure that all of these line up correctly. And then over here on the right is a quick peek into our pipeline that we'll be creating in order to transform that data. All right, let me jump into the app here. All right, cool. So here's the dashboard of my application. You can see a few different reports and charts that I was able to generate. And I'll dig into that a bit more and show you how I was able to do that. Before we do anything else, let me just take a quick peek at our relationship diagram. So we have an employees table here at the top, and employees can have many projects. We're actually calling them project managers there. And then a timesheet can be associated with an employee as well as a project. And then we have our timesheet reporting table down here. This is what we'll be generating through our pipeline. So we can get that into another system or even report on it in other ways. So first, I'm gonna actually start with our employees table. So if you come over here, it's a fairly simple table. Each record represents one employee, and you can associate them with their particular manager if you want to run reports for your manager so they can see, okay, everyone, my timesheet's going on today. We also included an hourly rate here, so that way we can calculate our wages based on our timesheets. Another interesting thing I did here was I made the employee field here, the key field, and I'll show you why that is pretty cool in just a second. So if I jump over to my timesheets table, you can see a breakdown of some of the timesheets I've already entered. I'll go ahead and click a new one here. And you'll notice that by default, my name is showing up here. And I'm able to do that because I set the key field on the employees table as that user field. And then if you just quickly go into the field properties here, you can actually set this reference field to be the current user. And on top of that, I set this field to be read only so that when someone enters a timesheet, they can't enter a timesheet for somebody else. They can only enter it for themselves. And I can do that very easily by just updating this form element here and making sure this field is set to read only. All right, cool. So a few other things that I've done on this timesheet. This one is really meant for a weekly timesheet. So I can come here, enter my start week, and then it'll determine each day of the week that landed on, and then you can enter the number of hours that you need for each day. I also have a nice little field help text right here to remind you that you must choose a Sunday. And if I don't choose a Sunday and I try to save this right now, I'm going to get an error, and it's going to say you must choose Sunday for the start week. So how was I able to do that? If I actually come over here to settings, if you go to advanced settings, you can set up your table validation rules. That's what you saw on my slide earlier. And I'm just saying if the day of the week is not equal to 0, which is a Sunday, then it's going to give you an error message saying you must choose a Sunday for your start week. Pretty simple. Come back here, add a new one again. So let's go ahead and enter a Sunday. Great, and as you can see, Sunday through Saturday all get their dates calculated. How are we doing that? So it's just a formula date field, fairly simple formula here. So if I take a look at Monday, all I'm saying is that start week field plus days 1. And you can just follow this pattern for every other day of the week. So Tuesdays plus days 2, and so forth. Jump back. So let's submit a timesheet now. Select a Sunday. And select a project to associate this with. And then we'll enter our hours. So let's say I was 0. Let's go with 8, 8, 8, 0, 8, and 8. And once I've done that, you can actually calculate the number of regular hours, total hours, and overtime hours. So right now, since I was at 40, I don't have any overtime hours. If I was to quickly update Thursday and add 10, we can then see that calculate out to 10 for our overtime hours. And we're using some formulas here as well. So I can just show you quickly what these will look like as well. So for our regular hours, we're doing our total hours minus our overtime hours. For total hours, it's just going to be a sum of all of those days. And then our overtime hours, we're saying if the total hours minus 40 is greater than 0, then it's going to be total hours minus 40. Otherwise, it's going to be a 0 because we didn't actually go over 40. Awesome. And then finally, our weekly wage field. So we're multiplying the regular hours times their rate from that employees table. Then we're adding our hourly rate times our overtime rate. In this case, I'm saying 1.5, and then multiplying that by our number of overtime hours to come up with that weekly wage value. Cool. So I'll go ahead and save this. Just get through the prompts one more time. Okay, cool. So when I save this, I actually have a pipeline running in the background, and that'll add our daily records in this timesheet reporting table down below. And that's what I would envision you to be able to import maybe to that payroll system, or maybe it's just you want to report on it daily, but you want your end users to have a nice clean UI when they enter it weekly. So I'll go ahead and save that. A quick refresh. And then you can see all of our days right here. And you'll notice that we didn't get a Saturday because I set it to 0. And in my pipelines, actually looking at those conditions to make sure that we're not adding records for days that we didn't work. So let's take a quick look at that pipeline and just see how I was able to do that. So I come over here to this other tab, I have a pipeline set up. And the trigger is just when a record is created. And it's going to be in that time cards table. And then right here, I'm specifying all the different fields I might need in my later steps. So I need to know the employee, my Friday date, my hours for every day of the week. I'll scroll down here, and then what we're doing here is I have some queries. So I'm saying if Sunday's hours are greater than 0, then we'll create a record and map it accordingly. And we're just taking the information that we specified in that step A and dragging it over. So anywhere we see Sunday, we're going to drag that over to Sunday's date. If we see Sunday's hours, we're dragging that into the hours. And then also we're pulling our record ID into the related fields so that you can see that directly related to that timesheet. Just like that. And I'm just following the same pattern for every day of the week. So Monday's hours 0, create a greater than 0, create a record, and so forth. It's a fairly simple pipeline there, but really powerful. So let me jump back here. So now we have a timesheet, great. So some of the other things that you're able to do now, since we have this weekly wage, we have our total hours, we can actually, since this is already related to our projects, we can summarize this information up and get some kind of interesting metrics. So if I go directly to this project here, I have a field here for the number of hours that we're budgeting, and then we're summarizing our total hours. So this can allow us to see how many remaining hours that we actually have budgeted that we have left. And then the same idea you can do down here. So we said, okay, we're gonna budget $15,000 for employee wages. Right now we're already inching close. We're at almost 11,000. We got about $4,000 left that we can allocate here. And then what you're able to do with this type of thing is not only gain better insights into your specific project, but you're able to generate reports and charts. You can see those trends like we have on the dashboard. If I just jump back right here, you can see some of these. So over here, you can see the hours that we've budgeted for this project, total hours for each one here. And then on this one, we can actually break it down by the week. We have our weekly wages as the bars, and then the line is a nice, for our hours, so you can see trends over time. Gives you a good idea of how much work that you've actually had going on at that time. Cool. So I'm going to pivot right now. I'm going to jump back to this presentation and continue. So for part 2 of our technical deep dive, I'll demonstrate how you can generate visually appealing headers that can be used within your calendar reports, much like what you saw in Jesse's demo. So here's just a quick peek on what this will look like. You can see the nice headers over here with our calendar, our statuses, and all that good stuff. And then this is actually the meat behind what you're actually displaying there. And it may look complex, but don't worry. We have some really fun stuff to make this much easier for you if you're not super familiar with HTML like this. So what I'm showing you right here is something I'll demo today. This is the automatic formula machine application. I was actually built by one of my coworkers, Brian Caffarelli. I believe he has some sessions going on this week as well. Really smart guy. So really what this allows you to do is in a really easy way, select, okay, I want my output to have a red color, and I want it bold, and I want it to have text size of this or that. And then it just spits out the HTML that you'd need, and then you can input that into your rich text formula. If you like, you can go ahead and scan that QR code and pull up that app, or click that bit.ly link. I'll also drop a link in the chat for you as well. So I'll just hold there for a moment. Okay, cool. So I'll jump back into my application and show you how we can do this. Okay, cool. So I actually have this set up on the projects table. If you scroll down here, you can see a nice little calendar view and how we were able to get that to happen. So why don't I just click into that, and then we can see this formula right here. So what I'm going to do right now is actually jump into this formula, give you a quick breakdown on how I was able to do that, and then I'll, in this copy formula, do a small piece of it with the automatic formula machine. So we edit the properties. So I'm using variables here. I find it to be easier to understand. So each of these variables, I'm calling out a specific field and the way I want it formatted. The status one is probably the most interesting one. I'm using a case formula, or a case function rather. So what you're saying is, I'm looking at the status field. When it's not started, I want it to be displayed like this. And when it's in progress, I want it to be displayed like that, and so forth. So you're just kind of following that pattern in what you want. And then after I've decided with my variables how I want everything formatted, I'm just using a nice list function down here to list them all out. Right here, all it's saying is I'm going to use this pipe symbol as my separator, and this is going to be the order in which my list is going to take. So it's going to be a status, pipe, type, pipe, employee, pipe, and then my date. Cool. So let me exit settings right here. Let me go ahead and access this formula right here. Don't worry about that error. I knew that was going to be there. All right, so let's start off with our status. So I'm going to say, let me pull this up a little bit. Great. Okay. So I'll come over here, locate my status field, and then I'll say if it's not started, then what do I want to do? So let's jump over to this automatic formula machine. We'll actually go to the style text version of it. All right, so what's the name of my field? And what's an example to preview, not started? Text size, 100%, I can leave it at that. Let's make it bold. And then for the color, I'm looking for some kind of red. That looks good. And then we can just copy this bit of code down here. Awesome. Come back to my app, and I'll just drop that right there. And then I'll just continue this pattern, do in progress. And let's see, let's go back. Let's just change this to a blue. I don't like that color, a little too light. That looks good. Grab that again. Perfect. Let's do it for complete. Right, let's get a green for that. This one looks good. Okay. Perfect. And then we'll just have to end this with a semicolon for our variable there. And then actually, I'm going to include just this one extra bit of HTML. That way, when we're looking at it on the calendar, it all stays in one line. So I'm just gonna put that right there. There. Perfect. And then let's do this one more time for another field. And I'm just going to jump back, take a look at what we've got going on. So let's do, I'm just going to do the project manager field for this one. Okay. And this time I won't do the case statement just to keep this nice and quick. So let's just do a bold and how about a cobalt color. And I just need to update that to be project manager. Perfect. All right. And we'll just drop that in like so. Let's save that. Let's just change this to I think I just needed to add in a toText function because that's a user field. That should do it. Great. So you can see this little header like that. Awesome. So actually might need to add that inline block here. Make sure I got that. Perfect. So that's just a quick way that you're able to generate one of these headers really easily. And then we can take a look at our final product once we had everything set up. Awesome. So that's just a quick way that you're able to use some tools out there if you might not have all the HTML skill, but you know exactly what you want. The automatic formatting machine is an awesome tool. All right, cool. All right, so we're gonna wrap up the session now. Jesse, do you mind wrapping up your piece of it?
Yeah, so it was a pleasure sharing with you how we came to the decision of Quickbase. We saw that it was light years ahead when it came to security, accessibility, simplicity, cost, and customization. And that led us to be completely convinced it was the tool we needed to build our business around. And that's what we've done. And we've tackled common construction problems in our industry, such as reporting, scheduling, timesheets, and much more, as you see there on the screen.
Awesome, thanks, Jesse. And during the technical deep dive, we took a real deep look at our timesheets. We learned how they could be so valuable to include in your application, the ability to summarize expected versus actuals, generate more interesting reports, and most importantly, make the life of your end user that much easier. We were also able to easily build some rich text formulas with the help of the automatic formula generator, allowing our application to be more visually pleasing for our calendars, but you can do so much more with that as well. Thank you so much for attending this session. I hope you were able to gain some insights on how you were able to improve your current application and learn some new tricks along the way. Please review the session. The link will be posted in the chat. Thanks so much. And now we're ready for Q&A.